Hello, and thank you for coming out tonight. We are so happy that you braved the cold and came to hang out with us. We know it's chilly out, and hopefully you'll get some good information tonight. I'm April, and a lot of our EOS Detroit team is here tonight, and we thank you for being here with us. And the question tonight is not if global adoption of cryptocurrency will happen, but when. Will it be 5 years? Will it be 10 years? We don't know. The point is, we know that it will happen. And there are definitely benefits to learning about crypto mass adoption early. You may ask, is this really early? But with only about 46 million people in the world owning some form of crypto, it's still early. And I would say yes, because Bitcoin was $1 in 2011, and it's 37,000 plus today. So I still believe we're early and on the incline. So pat yourself on the back for showing up today and talking about this early. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we will travel down this road together. I can't think of a better person to have as our tour guide than Luke Stokes, Managing Director of FIO, our speaker for tonight. He is passionate about voluntary systems of governance and has been involved in Bitcoin since 2013. So why don't we all share on our social media channels, our YouTube channel, so that our friends can watch as well. And buckle up and get your questions ready. Luke, take it away.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate y'all coming out tonight. It's beautiful here in Puerto Rico, and I hear it's about 20 degrees there. I can relate a little bit because I just left Denver, where it was literally 0 degrees. I was out at East Denver, and it was pretty crazy. We're going to run through these pretty quick because I want to have plenty of time for questions. I think the most value we can get out of this is for you to feel comfortable to ask any questions you have. And as I said, I've been in this space for a little bit, so hopefully I can provide you some interesting answers. So we're going to talk about today usability and mass adoption and how you got to get on board or get left out. I'm not sure you can see the slides well enough here, but hopefully you're seeing the same screen I'm seeing. There you go. Now it's blown up. Perfect. So I did start an e-commerce company at FoxyCart, and I got into crypto in 2013. FoxyCart was a platform you can actually go see on the Bitcoin wiki entry. There's still an entry for FoxyCart, and it was an e-commerce, custom e-commerce platform that we got people to integrate in with BitPay so they could pay for stuff with Bitcoin back in 2013. But nobody really cared. We had thousands of stores, and it was just very difficult to use, too confusing. There was a lot of friction. It would actually cause cart abandonment. And I really discovered that cryptocurrency is just too hard to use, especially back then. And so through my journey of thinking about cryptocurrency, I've started thinking about the usability challenges. This is from a study that the FIO Protocol did back in 2018. And a full 3/4 of people that use cryptocurrency when they're sending tokens, they don't feel fully confident. Almost 20% have actually lost funds, or they've had a failed transaction messing with their public addresses, those big, long, crazy hashes. And over half had some kind of problem during a transaction. And unfortunately, even 6% were victims of what's called the man-in-the-middle attack. What that means is, let's say you're going to say, hey, I want some Bitcoin, and you send somebody your Bitcoin address. Well, that's a key exchange, a public key exchange. It's usually something you have to be very careful about, because if someone comes in between that communication, between when you sent it and when the person received it, and they swap out your Bitcoin address, for example, with their Bitcoin address, that's a man-in-the-middle attack. And those funds won't make it to the intended recipient because that person got injected in there. And the same thing happens with QR codes. Restaurants put a QR code out, someone will put a sticker over or put their own QR code, and so that someone else can actually receive those funds instead of the intended recipient. There's no encryption on QR codes. So there's a number of reasons why we're looking at like, wow, this is a big problem. And when we think about cryptocurrency mass adoption, I'm hopefully going to make an argument tonight that this is inevitable. I did presentations in 2013 where I was saying, hey, this is going to be more disruptive than the internet. And everyone then was kind of like, what are you talking about? Because I didn't realize how early I was. I was a little bit too early with understanding how this whole system works. So there's this thing called the diffusion of innovation, the law of diffusion of innovation. And it essentially walks us through kind of these cycles that these networked technologies, just like the smartphone, just like the internet, they all go through these same patterns. And it starts with these kind of innovators, these kind of tinkerers, hackers, onto the early adopters, early majority, then late majority, and the laggers. And it all comes down to this exponential growth that we see. And you can see this curve here. So you've got this early 2.5%. Some people say today we're about 3.9% of the global adoption in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So you are definitely still early. Just like it was said earlier tonight, you are way early if you're in crypto today, which is great. A lot of people say, well, that was great for you to be in Bitcoin in 2013. You know, the first purchase I did, I spent about $50 and I got 2.5 Bitcoin. They were $20 a piece. So it definitely was nice, but I will reiterate, you're still very early. And when we talk about these kind of this law of diffusion of innovation and these exponential doublings that we see in these type of ecosystems, when you hit 8%, that's what they call the tipping point. You hit that 8%, it's pretty much inevitable that you're going to go to full mass adoption. Unless something very major happens, it's kind of, it can't be avoided. And we kind of compare the adoption curve of the internet. We were about 7.5 years from where we are now to 1 billion users. And we look at the curve for Bitcoin adoption, it's actually a steeper curve. It's more like 3 to 5 years, maybe 4 years to 1 billion users. If you just follow that same exponential curve, and again, that curve has been doubling again and again and again for years, doubling every time, doubling and doubling and doubling. And so this adoption is happening faster than the internet. And I think it'll surprise a lot of people because they don't have mechanisms in their brain through the process of evolution to recognize exponential growth. They don't see it when it happens, but after it happens, they look back and go, holy moly, how did we just get 1 billion users? That was incredible. And when we think about these kind of doublings, again, that 8% tipping point is a really key number to say, once you hit that point, it's pretty much inevitable. And you're only 4 doublings away from complete saturation where everyone is using this technology. And again, we've seen this happen from the internet. We've seen this happen with smartphones. It happens again and again and again. And yet it still, for some reason, catches a bunch of people off guard. So it's one of the things that I wanted to do today, just kind of let people know about these trends, know where Bitcoin is today and where it's going, and why it's really, really important to be aware of this. Because again, you are very, very early and you can play a key role in helping a lot of your friends participate in what is going to be the largest wealth transfer in the history of the world. And so when we think about this, mass adoption is inevitable. When we think about money and the history of money, certain presentations I've given in the past, I talk about all the way back to late 1700s, the central banking system, into 1913, and then from there, Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, the Nixon shock in 1971. Even there was a little thing in 1933 where it was illegal to own gold. I mean, you walk through this whole history of money and where it's going, and even all the way back to like tally sticks and shells and different ways that people would keep track of debits and credits basically between different people in the tribe. And it always comes down to a ledger, and money, cryptocurrency is the best ledger ever invented. And so, for my opinion, it's the best money ever invented because of that fact. You can't seize it. You can't stop it. You can't prevent it from being traded from one person to another. As we're just seeing in Canada, where there's all these truckers trying to do their own thing, and the government's going, we're not going to allow that. You know, they're peacefully protesting, but they're saying, hey, we're gonna shut that down. And they've been able to stop the GoFundMes. They've been able to stop the bank accounts, but they can't actually stop the transfer of Bitcoin. So it's another interesting example where this technology is important, and it really is a great ledger that you can trust. But as we talked about, it's a little bit too difficult. And I would argue it's probably a little bit too difficult for mass adoption. It's just, there are too many other systems that are easy to use, PayPal, Venmo, things like that. And until we have these situations where those get censored or they get prevented, people are just going to use what's comfortable, what's easy. And most likely, I think there's going to be more than just a single cryptocurrency that gets adopted in the world. It may not be the thousands that we have today when you go to CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko and you just see like thousands and thousands of projects, but it's probably going to be at least 50 to 100. It's going to be dozens. And so when we think about these different chains with these different protocols, different experiences, we're going to have a usability layer that makes sense for all of them. And so that's a big part of what we're trying to do with FIO Protocol, is trying to create an interoperable usability solution. And if we think about it, it's either going to be centralized or it's going to be decentralized, private, secure, self-sovereign. That's one of the reasons why I've been passionate about this project and trying to help people understand what we're doing. It is a decentralized business model that we can get into so everyone can participate, everyone who adds value. We run it as a Cayman nonprofit. And our goal is to really make products easier so anyone can use them. Yeah, this is our website here that's up on the screen. It looks like my slides aren't showing anymore, but if we could go back to the slides, I'll keep going. Are you able to bring up the slides? Yep, there we go. Excellent. So one of the relationships that we talk about is that, like, the internet was, again, on this pathway of doubling. There was a certain key moment that came out where HTTP was developed. This is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The Hypertext Transfer Protocol was this moment of usability. That's when you first got the World Wide Web and you got the web browser. You got this user interface for the internet that really helped people say, oh, okay, now I understand what this internet thing is. Now I know how to function with it and work with it. And you can see from the graph here, there was a huge explosion in user adoption and user growth of the internet once we had this protocol for usability. And we're trying to be a similar thing for the whole crypto space. Now, this is a slide I want to show for the builders out there. It's probably not as relevant for others, but I know Rob and some others in the crowd will probably get a kick out of this. When I think about the companies that are coming into the space, just like those companies were like, how do we figure out the internet? How do we get into the internet? They start thinking about all the layers and all the pieces that go into building a crypto-enabled product. You start with your seed phrase, then you have your private keys, then you have public keys per blockchain and potentially per transaction if it's an HD wallet. And then you have the nodes for interacting with those chains. You've got, in some cases, API or query nodes. And you, again, need those for all the transaction history and per chain. You need an API to be able to sign your transactions. And of course, you've got the SDKs, the software development kits, and all the different technology that goes with that. And then you've got the user experience, the UX and UI, the actual wallet or interaction with the app, whether it's an NFT marketplace or a gaming platform. And then you're actually sending and receiving cryptocurrency and signing blockchain messages. And then way at the top, you have the actual human readable address or crypto handle, like user at domain, with a great experience. And that's really ultimately the only thing the user should care about. They shouldn't care about all the details that go into making a fully self-sovereign, decentralized cryptocurrency experience. We're trying to create something very simple, something easy. So just Luke at Stokes, for example, is my crypto handle. You can send me any cryptocurrency that I've mapped to that address. And I can also send decentralized encrypted payment requests. Our vision is just to make blockchain interactions across every crypto easy, less risky, joyful, in a decentralized, self-sovereign manner. And I'm talking about this with you all because I want to make sure you know about it. I want to be able to hook you guys up with crypto handles. I want to make sure your community knows about it. It's a much, much easier way to interact with cryptocurrency. And you don't even need the FIO token to be able to do it. We, as a foundation, are giving away free crypto handles. You have 100 bundled transactions where you can interact with the network without even having to pay for anything. So it's really, and we run, again, as a decentralized autonomous consortia, a Cayman nonprofit. We're trying to get this out there so more people know that crypto doesn't have to be confusing and stressful and scary like we were learning about before. And the major features here, actually, I need to update this slide deck. It still says FIO addresses. We call them crypto handles now. Is but a crypto handle that's in two parts, the username and the domain. And the domain itself is an NFT that you can trade and sell with other people. And the entire NFT together with the username and domain is what we call a crypto handle. And you can do decentralized payment requests like an invoice or an order cart. You can actually request funds from someone. And it solves that man in the middle attack because you actually know that this address is actually requesting funds from this particular person. And you don't have that worry about, like, is this really going to go to the right person? Including in that is FIO data. So I use this whenever we pay the FIO team. They take their worker proposal number and they put it in the memo so that when they're requesting funds to get paid for their active payment request, I have all that information right there in the request. So I know exactly what's going on. And this is just a quick overview of the decentralized economic model. So everyone who adds value as a block producer, such as EOS Detroit or any of the others that are participating, they take a large portion of the fees. We just launched FIO Token staking, which actually just went live. So we're pretty excited about that. You can stake your tokens using the Edge wallet, the Tribe wallet, also with Anchor wallet. And then also we have tokens of the percentage of fees that go out to the integrators. So the NFT exchanges or the businesses, any wallet that integrates FIO Protocol, they get a big portion of those fees as well, plus an additional 40% that's minted by the chain. And then the foundation, the nonprofit, continues to operate through that 5% of those fees as well. We have, as you can see here, a whole bunch of wallets that have integrated. I probably need to update this with even more. This is a little bit outdated, but we've got Edge Wallet, Shapeshift Wallet, Konomi, Mycelium, lots of really great wallets have integrated that FIO experience along with exchanges as well. So we actually have exchanges that you can actually deposit and withdraw using FIO Request. So that's kind of the main thing I want to talk about. Is just the importance of usability. If you're out there, you're a builder and you're building something for the cryptocurrency space, I really want to make sure you know about what we're doing. We'd be happy to partner with you and do an integration. Make sure we give you your FIO domain so you have that. And then I want to quickly run through in the last 5 minutes of the presentation another feature that we have that we've added called NFT signatures. So we look at this as like, this is how you un-F your NFTs. There's a lot of problems with NFTs right now. They're really screwed up. There's a lot of forgery taking place. And we want to help with that, because anyone can mint an NFT and claim it as their own. They can be like, hey, I'm that Beeple artist. Yeah, sure, that's real. And if you just Google for NFT forgeries, you're going to see a whole bunch of examples. There was a Forbes article that just came out recently that I tweeted about where this is just rampant. And they're saying the whole space is a mess. And so if we don't actually, in a decentralized, self-sovereign way, if we don't police ourselves, then I do believe the government and other organizations are going to come in and say, well, you need to be regulated. But I do think we now have the technology to police ourselves. Another thing that's important too is that these things are not immutable. And it doesn't, even if it's the content of the actual NFT is often not on the chain. And if it is on the chain, it can be changed. But even if it is immutable, like IPFS or something like that, you don't get the authenticity to know that the one you're looking at is actually minted by the right person. So in this example, if Leonardo da Vinci was to publish an NFT, they could sign it with that human readable address, that crypto handle, just like they do on normal physical piece of art, with a human readable signature, a human readable address, something that makes sense. And in there is the information about the chain, the public address, the token URI, and then the hash of the off-chain data, which is really important so that you know that it hasn't been modified, that the NFT you're looking at is the exact NFT that the artist intended when they originally minted it. And that's really important. Like if you remember, there was a guy who did kind of like a Banksy move where he had his whole collection, all the images got swapped out to pictures of rugs. And he literally did a rug pull on the entire community that bought his NFT as an example to demonstrate how insecure these things currently are. So this, I think, is really important because it takes a hash of the data at the moment you mint it, at the moment you sign it. So anyone can basically share on the social media platform saying, hey, this is my crypto handle. Like I said, I'm Luke at Stokes. So if I'm to create NFTs, I will sign it with Luke at Stokes. And anyone will know if someone's trying to sell an NFT and claim it's a Luke Stokes original, they'll have to make sure that they check the signature or else it won't be valid. And so it's easy to validate the authenticity. We already talked a little bit about FIO Protocol and how it's growing. This number could be updated to almost 600,000 crypto handles today. And we're live on unique.one. So if you want to play around with this experience right now, you can actually go to unique.one. You can mint your NFTs and sign them right there in that experience, which is pretty cool. And as I mentioned, it stops the forgery and protects the permanence. So that's it for the NFT signing part of it and the presentation. You can go to nft.fioprotocol.io to learn more about that. You can go to fioprotocol.io as well and learn more about what we're doing. You can follow us on Twitter at joinfio, and myself, I'm on Twitter at Luke Stokes. And hopefully that was helpful to give you a context for kind of where the industry has been, where it's going, and how there are solutions like FIO Protocol trying to position us properly as an industry for mass adoption, because usability is incredibly important. It's something we've seen throughout the past, just like the single button on the iPhone that Steve Jobs came out with. A way to make things simple for people is actually critically important for mass adoption. And so as you're building stuff or you're trying to get involved in the space, you're trying to onboard people, it can be really tricky. So one of the things actually would be really fun to do maybe while we have a little more time and maybe during the Q&A, you can go to alty.com. And if you're using WhatsApp, you can actually click on the little green button at alty.com, load up WhatsApp, and it'll send a message there. And then once you create it's a custodial wallet, so it's not non-custodial, but it's maybe just for some spending cash kind of deal. And then once you create that, do /FIO in your WhatsApp after you connected that Altibot by going to alti.com. And you can actually create a FIO wallet. Yeah, that little green button, that WhatsApp button. You can actually create a FIO wallet and do this from your mobile. So go to alty.com and you can create a FIO crypto handle right there in WhatsApp. And maybe during the end of the show here, somebody could shout out their FIO crypto handle at Alti, and I can send you some FIO tokens while we're talking. Or you could even send me a FIO request if you wanted to. Luke at Stokes. You could send me a FIO request, and I could see it from my Edge wallet, which would be kind of fun. But that's the end of the time we have for the presentation. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time for questions. So let's go ahead and go into questions, and hopefully that was useful for you guys. I see we've got a mic set up. I know it's always kind of weird to be the first person to ask a question, but I promise I won't bite it. We'll make it super easy and simple. My hope is that everyone feels comfortable to ask any question. There's no stupid questions. I've been in this space for a while, and I have a computer science degree, so I kind of understand the technical, but also kind of the basics of like, how do you just get people onboarded and help them understand crypto stuff?
Awesome presentation, Luke. Thank you. I had a question. So the FIO blockchain is based off of fees, not inflation. And I was curious from your perspective, why the FIO, the foundation, you direct, made that design decision. Just as a curiosity, because most blockchains that leverage the delegated proof of stake technology aren't fee-based, they're inflation-based.
Yeah, it's a great question. I should mention, because this is the EOS Detroit meetup, we are an EOS.io-based chain, heavily modified with a lot of really important improvements. We love the EOS.io tech stack as far as the performance it gives us and the low fees for running the nodes. And the reason we went with more like a UTXO model, where you can just send tokens to an account to a public key, and it creates the account automatically. We also didn't want to deal with staking of resources like CPU, bandwidth, and network. I know that with the fuel and different changes that have been made in EOS.io, some of those have been more based on fees as well. But our approach from day one, and we started modifying the chain back in 2018. We launched in 2020 as far as the mainnet. It was really important for us to not have to confuse the user. As a usability layer, this whole deal, we had to like stake resources and things like that. And as far as the inflation, it's kind of an interesting question, because some people argue that Bitcoin, for example, has inflation because there are new Bitcoin that are minted, even though there's a cap on Bitcoin. So some people describe Bitcoin as being deflationary because it's like, well, it's a set amount. It's just, over time. So we have some similar models where we have certain tokens that are set aside and actually minted by the chain up to a certain amount. So I mentioned, for example, the technology provider ID bonus. It's 10% of the fees plus an additional 40% of the fees. So let's say some wallet onboards 1 million people, they'll get a full 50% of those fees, which would normally be $2 US worth of FIO tokens. They'll get $1 million. They'll get 50% of those $2 per account. And that's done in such a way that the block producers actually provide a price feed to the chain, so they know exactly kind of where the FIO token is. So again, back to usability and user experience, they know, it's about $2. Yeah, that's worth it. I'll go ahead and get one. We are providing a lot of free FIO addresses right now as well. Another 12.5% of the total amount of tokens were set aside and locked on chain just for registering new crypto handles. So this is a model we took to make it easy for people to not have to worry about staking resources, this, that, and the other, to really understand it's like only, going to be 1 billion tokens. There's not going to be more than that. And then also understanding that there's an adoption period right now where we're trying to, get a lot of wallets, a lot of exchanges, a lot more people on board while those tokens are being minted by the chain. But once those kind of incentives run out, the idea would be there's going to be more and more fees that are just natively done. And again, the model is a fully sustainable business model that is completely decentralized, where everyone who participates in the model, whether it's people voting for block producers and staking their tokens, whether it's the block producers themselves that are validating the network and securing it, or whether it's the foundation that's helping coordinate the community and pay out the worker proposals via the community treasury, or it's whether it's the actual wallets and exchanges, NFT platforms, gaming platforms that are actually providing the FIO protocol within their experience.
Awesome, thanks, Luke.
So I'm curious, like, how many people actually have crypto? I mean, you guys are pretty much all crypto people, right? Yeah, there we go. Nice, nice.
So, Luke, for the FIO protocol, I've got two questions. One is for the FIO protocol is, are all the blockchain addresses visible publicly if you know the handle? And my second question for you is, since you've thought about the mass adoption, what do you think about like Zelle, which is free sending of money? How non-crypto stuff is competing with that?
Really great questions. What's your name?
Eli.
Eli, thank you so much, man. Eli, great questions. So the first question about all the public addresses on FIO public? Are they visible? Yes, they are today, which I know is a privacy concern for some. But again, I use Luke at Stokes, but I could just as easily be Satoshi at Nakamoto. I could be a pseudo-anonymous handle if I want to. And then in addition, we've got everything we do as a community is done through FIPS, a FIO Improvement Proposal. So FIPS 5 and 8 are improvements to the security model and the privacy model of the FIO protocol, where you could literally go in and say, okay, I'm going to only allow people that I've friended to see and decrypt an encrypted message that includes my Bitcoin address, for example. That would be an improvement to the security model. So we're one of the few wallet naming solutions that has a pathway to full security and full privacy. But in addition to that, if you're running an operation or you have a certain situation where you don't want anyone to be able to know the keys, the public keys, the native blockchain addresses that are attached to your FIO crypto handle, you can actually just not do any of the mappings and only send FIO requests. And FIO requests are Diffie-Hellman shared key encrypted messages between the two parties. I mean, it takes the public key from Luke at Stokes, the public key from, let's say, Rob at Alti or whatever it might be, and it goes ahead and creates that shared key that then encrypts that message. So the chain code, the token code, the amount, the address, and the memo all get encrypted. So only those two parties can read them. So it actually provides a new layer of privacy, which we're pretty excited about. So that hopefully answers your first question. For your second question, I'm actually really passionate about this one. I think that if people don't recognize the importance of decentralizing their crypto experience or their monetary policies and things, they're going to run into a big problem. And what I mean by that is central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. And you mentioned, some of these other solutions that are centralized solutions where it's free, instantaneous. And we're going to have the same kind of situation with CBDCs. Your bank's going to roll out some new app. People are going to download it, look at their phone and go, oh, that's cool. That's easy. That's simple. It's free. It's instant. This is so much better than waiting for wire transfers. Why wouldn't I just move my whole economy into this? And people will. And unfortunately, as the example going on in Canada right now, they're going to realize that they don't actually control their own money. They don't actually control their own value. And not only that, all of these transactions are going to be completely tracked by everybody. And so the idea that a really easy to use centralized solution is going to draw a lot of people into the digital currency space, but it's not cryptocurrency. It's not self-sovereign, peer-to-peer digital cash, something that you can trust, can't be manipulated, can't be censored, can't be stopped by anyone. So this is another reason I'm really passionate about the FIO protocol, because if we don't provide great usability in a decentralized self-sovereign way, we are going to find that people are just going to transition to services like you said. And I think that's going to be a really big problem for humanity. I think it could be potentially devastating where more and more people centralize control into these different governments who don't necessarily have our best interests in mind. And so I'm very passionate about the whole reason I got into cryptocurrency is these kind of self-sovereign beliefs that these things are important for us to control our own store of value, our own story. And if we don't make it easy, people are just going to gravitate to the centralized solutions. Thank you for your question. It's really, really good one. Two good questions. Also, too, while you're waiting, if you haven't yet, go to alti.com on your phone, set up that Alti bot, and if you want, you can shout out what your crypto handle is, and I can send you some crypto while we're doing the show.
Yeah. Hey, Luke. Thanks for everything. I had a question. You were talking about the NFT verification, how FIO handles things. I was wondering how that may relate to decentralized IDs, especially as we're talking about what's happening in Canada. It's not just about currency, but it's about your identity. Are you guys looking at decentralized IDs, and how would you handle that? Or how is your system handling that, if you're even looking at it? Thanks.
Yeah, it's a really great question. Thank you. We've definitely thought a lot about decentralized identities, about verified identities, verified crypto handles. And we've got some write-ups where our team has kind of thought it through what it might look like. At the moment, it's not one of our core activities. We don't have a FIP design for it yet, for example. But I am really excited about working with friends that I know. For example, Craig Sellers, who you may know from developing USDT, brilliant person. He's one of the most intelligent people I know in the crypto space. He's out here in Puerto Rico as well. And I've had some great conversations with him. There's some stuff he's aware of and working on called Keychain. Keychain.org is something I definitely recommend checking out. It kind of follows the DID standards and a lot of things going on in that space, in the Web3 space and the WC3 space. There's also Netkey. Justin Newton at Netkey is working on providing solutions for the travel rule and things of that nature. And they're also looking at verified credentials and things that the WC3 is working on. So I think there are a lot of really great examples of people working on the digital identity problem and the decentralized identity problem. It's one that some people say, should never be on a blockchain, and don't ever do it. It's super dangerous. It could really enslave humanity. And I really respect and appreciate that position. An example that's often brought up is that, IBM provided the machines and servers that were used to barcode all the Jews that were in the concentration camps and enabled them to be more efficient with the way they managed human cargo. And it's just devastating to think that our technologies could be used to enslave people. So we have to be very, very careful about how we think about decentralized identity or any identity at all on the blockchain. And a big part of it has to do with not just identity, but profiles, avatars, reputation, attributes, and relationships. This is more about what the conversation entails. Like, how are you going to be able to control the relationship between your physical identity and your representation online, which is an avatar or a profile, and how you selectively should be able to choose which relationships and data about yourself you want to disclose. So there's some really great projects working on that. We are definitely interested in working together with them as well. It's not currently a major focus of ours, but it easily could be. And I think they're seeing that if you're familiar with, for example, DIDs in some of these technologies that are out there, they're not very user-friendly. They're big, complicated files, and they don't have a great user experience yet. And so we're thinking about if we could be a layer on top of some of these solutions with a nice crypto handle, just like we're doing with the NFT signatures, where it's more about like, once you've validated that you are, for example, Luke at Stokes, then you kind of leave it to these other great technologies to then go through and help with that validation process. And now you have a cryptographically secure way to sign NFTs, to send and receive crypto, to do many other things as well. So it's a really good question. It's definitely something we're focused on and thinking about. We're just kind of waiting for the right, as we call it, the right dance partner, the right person, right company to come along and say, hey, we see that you're interested in this. We are as well. Let's go ahead and design a plan and build it together. Something we'd be very excited to do. And again, I should mention, if you're interested in participating in any way to help FIO Protocol, everything from marketing to software development to business development, everything in between, we do have open worker proposals. We run as a DAO or a DAC, a decentralized autonomous consortia. So if you want to go to our website and go to our community wiki, there are instructions there on how to submit a worker proposal and how you can participate in helping grow the FIO ecosystem and help others as well.
Hi, Luke. It's April again. I wrote down a few questions, but the one that I really want to know is Vitalik Buterin mentioned concerns about interoperability and being a large vector for attack due to wrap tokens being compromised. What's your opinion on that?
That's a really good question, April. I'm very, very concerned about wrap tokens. I agree with him on many of his conclusions. I read the same thing. When you take the underlying security model of a blockchain and then take that token that is secured by that model and then basically bypass it by putting it over on another chain and acting as if it's as secure as the original model, that's a big problem. And not only that, almost every bridge I've seen is pretty much fully centralized. If you're using Binance Bridge, if you're using a lot of these wrap tokens, they're being supported by a bridging technology that is fundamentally centralized. There's somebody that is watching, okay, this token got locked up, and then we're going to mint this token over here. And now when it comes back, we're going to burn this token and we're going to unlock it here. Well, those are keys actually controlling those locking and unlocking and those minting and burning. And those keys are generally centralized. Now, there are some really good solutions out there that are trying to solve this problem. I'm a fan of P Network. They work with a lot of FIO chains and along with some others. But one of the limitations with these, and I know Thor Chain is doing some really exciting stuff there with bridging, and there's many others as well. But one of the challenges is that if you provide like a slash, for example, a slash, and we have to put up a bond to run a node there. If the amount of money that you're wrapping is way more than the bond that you're going to be slashed if you are a nefarious actor, well, then the security is already broken, because it's like, if I'm going to lose $1 million in tokens if I actually steal everybody's money, but there's $10 million in there, hackers will do this, unfortunately. So it's a difficult problem to solve. One of the things that we're doing with FIO Protocol, we saw the need to get our domains out available on OpenSea and our token available out on the Ethereum bridges and in the DeFi platforms. So we actually scoured around looking at all these different projects for like about a year. We eventually built our own. So very soon we're going to have a decentralized multi-signature Oracle system for wrapping the FIO token and the FIO domains. The FIO domains will be wrapped and available on Polygon, and the token will be wrapped and available on Ethereum layer 1. And the way we do this is we take the actual block producers that are currently being trusted by the token holders to secure the chain, and we make them part of this custom bridging solution that we built on Ethereum as part of a multi-sig. So there's going to be custodians who then vote in the actual oracles, and those oracles will be in charge of watching both chains and making sure that they mint the right tokens as they've been locked and burn the right tokens as they get unlocked. So we're very excited about our block producers participating in that. We've got a number that are starting to work on that. That's going to be out on testnet very soon. Because of that exact problem, that most bridges and most of these systems are centralized and really very dangerous points of failure that can impact entire token markets. We had something happen similarly. I think it was on Solana. There was one of them, may not have been Solana, but there was one that was about a $300 million issue that they had to just come in and I think it was Sam, somebody came in and paid for it all, because these bridges are a really important point of failure that we have to solve as an industry. And it's also important too, because a lot of people want to use different tokens on the same ecosystem. So I do think bridging and interoperability, where you can actually transfer from one chain to another chain and still interact with it, is important. We just have to be very careful about how we do it. And to be clear, the FIO protocol, the foundation for inter-wallet operability, we're a usability layer, the inter-wallet operability. Yeah, there you go. That's the exact one. Wormhole hit with a potential $320 million hack. And these things are just, it was Solana. Yeah, these things we have to be super, super careful about. And so what we do is we provide a way to have a user experience that's interoperable between wallets, but we don't actually get involved in the individual transaction. Like if you're going to send Bitcoin to Luke at Stokes, what actually happens is your wallet does a lookup on the FIO chain, Byzantine fault tolerant secure system, pulls that Bitcoin address off the chain, which I was the only one that could have mapped, and then sends a native Bitcoin transaction. So the FIO protocol itself doesn't get involved in the native transaction in any way. It's just leading up to that transaction. But it is a really big problem. It's a great question.
Hey, Luke, I got a question for you based off something you just said. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you just say that only there's a one-to-one mapping between addresses for crypto wallets like Bitcoin and FIO names? So I couldn't have two FIO names that map to the same Bitcoin address? Is that a validation that FIO does? Or
interesting? Yeah, I got you. Interesting question. No, you can have multiple FIO addresses mapped to the same Bitcoin address, but you can't, for pretty obvious reasons, map multiple Bitcoin addresses to the same FIO crypto handle. Meaning, if I want to send Bitcoin to Luke at Stokes, I have to get one and only one Bitcoin address coming back from the chain, or else the wallet wouldn't know, well, where do I send the Bitcoin, right? But there's nothing preventing anyone from mapping any address to anything. So like you could, for example, go out and find a bunch of exchange addresses and map them all to be like, hey, here's the addresses we want to watch when the whales are, depositing and withdrawing to a crypto handle or to an exchange. So anyone can map any address they want. And this is kind of where the validation side of things come into, and where we're kind of thinking about verified crypto handles as a way where you could say, hey, not only did I map that Bitcoin address, I'm actually going to sign a cryptographic proof to say I control that Bitcoin address with the private key of that Bitcoin address. We haven't built that out yet, but we have a design for it. We have some thoughts there. But yeah, it is set up so that anyone can map any address that they want. And actually anyone can sign any NFT they want as well. So it is important for the artist or the author to say, hey, this is my legit handle. And this is where the kind of key exchange takes place. You go to my Twitter, for example, you'll see that I put in my name, Luke at Stokes. And I'm saying here publicly, I'm Luke at Stokes. So if anyone want to interact with me as far as crypto and blockchain, if any scammer, and these happen constantly, they happen on Instagram and Netflix, or on Instagram, Telegram, all these other places where people pretend to be me. They take my, and they've done it on Twitter a number of times. They take my avatar, they take my profile, and they scam people. They message them and say, hey, I need some Bitcoin. If that ever happens to you, you can just say, hey, yeah, sure. Send me a FIO request from Luke at Stokes. And that will just kill the conversation dead in its tracks, because there's no way that they can sign that FIO crypto handle, Luke at Stokes. They'd have to have my private key to do that. And I want to give a quick shout out. Is anyone out in the audience, has anyone created an Altibot wallet? Have you guys been able to do that yet? If anyone has, I want to send you some crypto while we're doing the Q&A.
Oh, April's doing it.
So you can go from your web browser, you can go to alty.com, click on the WhatsApp button if you have WhatsApp. And after it sends that pre-filled message, you can do /FIO, and it'll ask you for what username you want. Go ahead and pick a username. Don't leave off the @alti part, but just pick a username. Yeah, right there. Click on that WhatsApp button. Pick a username. Go through the registration process, and then just come up to the mic and shout it out, and I'll send you crypto just using your user-friendly crypto handle name. I won't have to have a big public address. You won't have to send me an address, and I'll send you FIO, but it could just as easily be Bitcoin or Ethereum. Anything that in this case, the Altibot supports, I can send you. And I'll be using the Edge wallet, but I could do it from Shapeshift or Konomi, or Trust Wallet even supports FIO lookups, FIO send. There's a lot of different features there that are pretty cool, I think. So while you're thinking of questions to ask, if anyone does create a wallet, come up to the mic and let me know, and I'll send you some crypto.
Got another question for you.
Yeah.
Earlier on, you had mentioned user experience, and a thing I've been thinking about a lot is, with so many different chains and without a centralized standard, what are you guys doing, or what can anybody really do to help with the UX experience, which seems to be one of the biggest drawbacks of onboarding new people into the space, on just the entire user experience, especially on the design space?
Yeah, I completely agree. And there are many different pieces to it. So the Altibot is kind of fun, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the experience. I've shown it to a number of people where they're been in crypto for a long time, and they're like, this is the best experience I've ever seen as far as onboarding. Another one that I like that is also a member of our consortium is Edge Wallet. They got a pretty good user experience. The way they do the onboarding, now Edge Wallet's a fully non-custodial wallet, but they don't hit you with the memorize all these seed phrases and all these things that are a terrible user experience. They just say, hey, we've got your login, we've got your password, we're gonna ask you some recovery questions, and we're gonna encrypt all that stuff and hash it in such a way that we can't access any of your information. But if you actually lose your phone, you can recover your seed phrase and recover everything automatically. They keep an encrypted version of the file, and they have encrypted hashed questions and answers for recovery. So I think there are wallets that are coming out there with better onboarding experience for getting a wallet, getting an exchange account, or in the Altibot example, just using something you already have, like a WhatsApp app, and using a bot to interact with it. So I think it's getting there. We're definitely doing what we can with the FIO protocol to provide that human readable experience with the crypto handles. I think that's really helped. For example, and I don't think the press release is coming out yet, so you guys are getting a little inside information. The Opera browser in the, I think it's the Google Android web's crypto part of their web browser is actually part of their onboarding to that crypto wallet is creating an Opera FIO crypto handle at Opera, which is pretty cool. And those are the type of examples of user experiences being improved in the industry, where people right away are saying, hey, we're going to teach you about this crypto handle thing, and you don't have to worry about all these big, long, crazy addresses. You don't have to worry about your Ethereum address, your Bitcoin address, or all these different addresses. You just have that crypto handle, and it's secure and self-sovereign that you control. So I'm excited about that. But from the actual design, it's a really good question as far as how do we build the screens? How do we think about the process of, what do I click on if I want to send crypto? What do I click on if I want to request crypto? Just today, I was in Charcoal Hippie, or not Charcoal Hippie, but another place in the rainforest with my kids and a friend of mine, another member of the FIO team, and I had to get $5 cash. I had no cash to pay the parking, and I just met this guy, and he was there, and I saw he had cash. I was like, hey, can I Venmo you $5 real quick? I said Bitcoin, and he laughed at me, so I didn't think he wanted crypto, but his loss, right? But I was sitting there, and it was funny watching him, even on Venmo, which is really popular, easy to use financial tool, he was clicking the wrong button, trying to figure out how does he bring up his QR code to be able, so I can scan it and send him money. So I think it's not a simple thing to do, even in the kind of centralized solutions, how to send and receive financial value. But I also think it's similar to when you drive a car. Like the first time you drive a car, you're freaking out. It's really stressful. You're like, oh man, I got to check my mirrors. I don't know what's going on. But then you drive it more and more and more. It becomes more and more familiar. And then it's like you don't even think about it. So I think a lot of people, even people that haven't used like PayPal or Venmo very much, but especially those who haven't used crypto at all, they're just very confused and stressed, and they're worried about doing, the process. And some of it just comes down to familiarity. Like the more my kids use these kind of wallets, the more they're not even going to think about it. They're going to be like, yeah, the user experience is fine. What's the problem? And I think it's kind of similar to the first people getting on the internet, like sending an email or finding a web page, just so difficult. But now, like, we don't even teach people. They just grow up with it and it's obvious. So I think partially we have to improve as an industry as far as making better user experience interfaces. And partially we're going to improve just through familiarity, just by using it more often and getting more familiar with it. And that's just educating each other how it works.
You could send that crypto to April D.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So what I'm doing, I'm right now, I'm in the Edge wallet and I'm typing April D at ALTY. I'm going to see if it resolves here. Let's see. I probably typed it wrong. APRILD. And you finish the whole where it confirms, it says, yes, do you want to create it?
Confirm. Yeah.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, with the new Canadian rules, will Alti be affected at all?
That's a really good question. The reason we haven't promoted Alti a lot yet, and unfortunately it's having a little trouble pulling that up. You said it was APRILD at Alti. I'm going to restart my Edge wallet just in case. Sometimes it connects to a node that's a little bit out of date. So I'm doing live demo here. Hopefully it's going to work out for us. Let me see here. And I may have been in the wrong. Here we go. Wrong wallet. Let me double check. So I'm going to go APRILD at Alti. Yeah, there you go. Came through just fine. All right. So I just typed in April D at Alti. And if you could see, if you want to go back to my screen real quick, you could see that it pulled up that big crazy FIO crypto handle, that public address right there. I didn't have to copy that down or paste it or do some kind of key exchange that was insecure. And I could just go ahead and say, yep, April D at FIO, all good. That's like super cool. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to send April $5. So I'm going to send you $5 in crypto. I'm just putting the Luke at Stokes here, so that'll be who it comes from. And I send it. So now, April, if you go into your wallet and you do /balance, you should see in there's going to be like 56 FIO. And because it's FIO chain, that happens in half a second. Block times are really fast. And congratulations, you got your first FIO and you got your first FIO crypto handle. Pretty awesome. And to your question, I think that to your question, I think it is a really important thing. And then one of the reasons we haven't promoted the AltiBot yet as much is they're still getting everything completely clear from a legal framework from their jurisdiction. I believe they're either in Barbados or they're working in Cayman. I forget which is the latest, but they're getting the full legal coverage to make sure that what they're doing is completely legal in the jurisdictions they're working in. There's also KYC options and other things that they're building in to make sure that they can extend out to other jurisdictions. And I think your question is a really good one as far as what's going on in Canada and other places cracking down more and more. They're even going after different crypto addresses, and they're going after exchanges saying, hey, you should block these crypto handles because, these crypto addresses, because they were trying to, distribute money to these, domestic terrorists or whatever their label they're using today. I think it's one of those things that's important that we fight back from. Like we literally call our, politicians and say, hey, this is not okay. And you can also fight back by withdrawing your money, withdrawing your fiat currency from banks and moving into more decentralized cryptocurrency that you control. And I think as far as things like AltiBot, it is possible, just like any centralized exchange, just like any custodial situation, that they could try to shut them down, shut down the company, shut down the servers that use it. And that's one of the reasons that Alti and others that are centralized are going to be moving eventually towards a non-custodial decentralized solution. So they're not there yet. They are a custodial solution, to be really clear. So I would always be careful, how much money you put in there. Don't ever put more money than you're willing to lose. But then there's also as I mentioned, Edge Wallet, I just did that send from Edge Wallet, which is completely decentralized. So there wouldn't be a way for them to stop it, even if they wanted to. It's a really good question, though, and it's something that I hope the whole space really focuses on to make sure we're being careful about, which tools we're using, which wallets we're using, and whether or not they can actually be censored or not.
Amazing job, Luke.
I'm really excited that we got to send crypto right through the presentation as well. So, and again, thank you all for coming out. It's pretty awesome when 20-degree weather, you guys are all coming out to a meetup. That's just amazing. You got an amazing crew there in Detroit. It's really cool.
Thanks, Luke. You should come in the summer when the weather's nice.
Yeah, that's much more likely in the summer for sure.
All right, we'll come down to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you guys come to Puerto Rico. Come out to the rainforest. You can follow me at Luke Stokes on Twitter, or you can find me. I think it's B Stoked on Facebook. I'm always posting pictures of hanging out with my family, and I'm sure I'll post some video of us out in the rainforest earlier today. It was amazing. It was really beautiful.
That's awesome, Luke. I wanted to file a bug report. I tried to make the Altibot work on Telegram.
Yes.
No address found. So I just wanted you guys to know.
That's why I usually do WhatsApp. The thing with Telegram is that you have to make your phone number public in your Telegram settings, and a lot of people don't do that, so it gets a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I added a contact to do that, but I will go and take it off now. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, and again, that's why I usually recommend WhatsApp. But I know it does work in Telegram. I've used it myself, and actually the cool thing about that is the same account, because it's linked to your phone number, works in Telegram and WhatsApp as far as you'll see the same balances and everything else. I don't know. Did anyone else want some free crypto? Did anyone else create an account?
I sure did.
Awesome. What is it?
Linda S, as in Sam.
Perfect. All right. So Linda S at Alti. I typed that in right now, and it pops right up. Very cool. And I'm also going to send you $5.
Wonderful.
So you got
Thank you.
$5 in FIO. You're very welcome. And what's cool too, if anyone wanted to play with this to go even a little bit further, and again, you can do /balance. So you can actually see that you'll have another 56 FIO in there. If anyone wanted to play with this, you can actually send a FIO request within Alti as well. If you do /request, it'll ask you, well, who do you want to request funds from? You can say Luke at Stokes. And you say, well, what kind of token do you want to request? You do FIO. And then it'll say, well, how much? You can say 1 FIO or 5 FIO or something small. Don't break my bank here. And then what I can do is I can go in to my wallet here, and you can see the FIO requests. And here we go. I got 1 at max. Awesome presentation of EOS Detroit. And they're asking for 0.0001 FIO. I'm totally going to do that. I think I know who that is. Max, I'm going to give you a shout out. So I'm actually doing a FIO request for a teeny tiny amount of FIO here. Awesome presentation at EOS Detroit. That was the memo. That's, again, encrypted message between the two of us. And I just swiped my finger, and they are now the proud owner of 0.0001 FIO. I think my fee was 10 cents just to send that, though, which was fun.
Well, while you're in the giving spirit, Luke, you can go ahead and drop me some as well.
Awesome. What's your crypto handle?
Marseille _M.
Okay, you're going to have to help me spell that. MAR
SAI.
Oh, SAI. And then underscore. And what was it?
M as in Marseille.
Okay, let me see if I did that right. Marseille _M at Alti came right up. Oh, wait, let me double check that. Maybe I typed it wrong. It just gave me an error, so I'm gonna try again. MARSAY?
SAI.
Oh, SAI. There you go. That's
yeah.
what I did wrong. And that's the nice thing too. Is if you do it wrong, it lets you know that's not a real FIO address. That's not who you want to send money to, which is super cool. If that was done with a native public address and I typed it quite wrong and I send it, that money would be lost forever. It would be
Lost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't, it's funny. I'm going to restart Edge. It's giving me a little bit of a weird error I haven't seen before. So hold on. I'm going to retry that again. Let me try it here. All right. We're going to do, I'm actually curious if I've never tried sending to an underscore before. So it's MARSAI _M. Is that correct?
M as in Mary.
M is in Mary. Cool. And then I go Alti. Let me see if this comes up. Oh, interesting. You may have found a bug that I can report to the
Nice.
Edge team.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
Well, it's funny. Let me actually try. If that's an Edge bug, what I'm going to try is I'm going to go into my Altibot,
Okay.
and I want to see if I can send from there, which
Okay.
actually I should be able to. So I'm going to do /send, or you could even try if you wanted to. You could actually try sending me a FIO request from there, and I'm actually curious if it would work. So here, I'm going to try from the Altibot. I'm going to see if this works. So I do /send. It's been a while since I've used the Altibot, so I'm going to make sure it works. Which currency would you like to send? Oh, I've actually got to load up more FIO in here. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of FIO. But I'm going to just try this, and if I get it to work, I can send you some more. So it says, what currency would you like to send? I say FIO. Kind of waiting for it to respond. There we go. And so I'm going to go MARSAI_M as in Mary at Alti. Let me see if this works here. MARSAI_M at Alti. And another thing we can do, it says not a valid FIO address. So what I'm going to do right now is actually go to the block producer or the block explorer. If you go to fio.blocks.io, I'm going to just double check that address got confirmed. It's possible it didn't finish the account creation. Yeah, I just double checked on the block explorer. So the blockchain itself hasn't found that address yet. Either that or I'm typing it in wrong. But I've got MARSAI_M at ALTY. And when I go ahead and pull that up, it doesn't come through. So I can actually, let me see if I can share my screen. I'm going to try to share my screen and see if this works. Let's see here. Yeah, so if you look here on the block explorer, I just went here to fio.blocks.io and I type in at Alti, and it looks like that the address isn't found. So we might have to try again.
Are underscores a valid character to use?
It may not be. I didn't think it was. Like I said, I've never done an underscore before, so we're doing live demo here, which is great.
I got the confirmation. It says you made it. A premium account has been created. Access granted to your account or wallet.
Oh, well, yeah. And does it show you a link to the creation of because it should actually include a link to the block explorer if it actually created the FIO crypto handle.
It does not.
Interesting.
It is a.
So if you could try to go to, so this is awesome. We're doing live demos here. Try to go to /FIO again in the Altibot, and we can see if it'll ask you to create a new crypto handle or not.
I don't think underscore is valid.
Dash.
Let's try Dash then.
You could try, you could try a dash, or you could try just the Marseille, if I said that right, and without a dash. They could try that as well. But let's see here. This is the beauty of like having a blockchain. So there's a global validator of truth that we're all checking around the world. We can all look at it at the same time and know what truth is. So whenever there's a disagreement about like when I talk about a blockchain is a tool for global nonviolent consensus. It's a mechanism for us to come to consensus about what truth is. So we had a disagreement there. It's like, well, no, I created the account. The software told me I created an account. It said it's confirmed, and I'm confused, and you're confused. And then we go to the kind of the block explorer, the actual blockchain itself, and look for truth, and we see it's not there yet. So okay, it wasn't created. So yeah, this here, what we're showing on the screen, that's the block explorer. So when you do a /FIO, does it come up? Does it think you still have an account?
It
Or does
doesn't.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and try to create another account, and then we can try it there. I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that as well. That's a great bug report where it thinks it created the account, but it actually didn't.
Way to go, Marseille. Get that bug bounty.
Right?
There's EOS.io at Detroit. Give them a vote. They're currently in 20th position. Oh, man. We need to get them up higher, guys. So if you own FIO tokens, you can not only vote, but you can actually now you can stake them and get rewarded for staking those tokens and voting for block producers. So definitely get out there and vote. We've got some stuff making that easier to do with the Anchor wallet. And we also have our FIO dashboard that's launching very soon, and we're going to be adding voting to that as well. And you can even vote right here from the Block Explorer. If you click on that login button and you log in with the Anchor wallet, you can actually vote directly. Or if you're using command line tools, you can as well. But yeah, definitely shout out to EOS Detroit. You guys have been a great supporter of the protocol, and all EOS IO Technologies guys have been there from the beginning, always building community. Big fans of you guys.
Thanks for the shout out, Luke. I had a quick question for you that I don't think we covered. Approximately how much money does it cost today to register a FIO domain? Or FIO token?
It's a domain, and that's the second half of the FIO crypto handle. So for example, Luke at Stokes, that second half after the at, it's currently $40 US worth of FIO tokens, and that is renewed every year. So you do have to put that $40 in there to be able to have that domain. And the cool thing about that domain, it has some features such as you can make it public or you can make it private. So for example, I have the Stokes domain and I've chosen to make it private. So I'm the only one as the private key holder of that domain who can actually register other FIO crypto handles on that domain. So I have my family, for example, all has at Stokes crypto handles that I was able to register for them. So if you guys were to do like the download or EOS Detroit or whatever domain you wanted, you could actually create really awesome local communities where only the people you vet would you allow to get a crypto handle at that domain. And owning that NFT, owning that crypto handle kind of signals to the community they're a member of that organization. So yeah, it's about $40, and those fees are maintained and set by the block producers. So that's kind of the recommended price. And as the FIO token price fluctuates up and down, they're always adjusting that to make sure it stays within the alignment of kind of what we're thinking it's worth. And again, if they ever decide that as a community come together, say, we think $40 is too much, maybe it should be less, or maybe it's not enough, it should be more, they'll be able to make those change in a fully decentralized way.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. And that brings another question up for me. Have you guys thought about auto renewal functionality, or is there a way to pay for multiple years in case I forget to renew my domain?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. You can pay and renew for as many years as you want. You could definitely stack them up and I'm just going to renew 10 years right away. I definitely can do that. And the FIO token price isn't too bad. So it might be a cool thing to do. And at the same time, as far as like auto renews, the interesting thing about blockchain is that it's pretty much every interaction with the chain has to be signed by the private key holder. So it's very difficult, for example, to do subscriptions in that way. But the interesting thing about FIO with the FIO request functionality, and there's actually a group that was working on something called FIO Pay. They haven't been able to finalize it and keeping it going forward. I hope they get back to working on it. But it was the idea that you could do a subscription model with FIO requests. So every month you get a new request that says, hey, do you still want to pay for your Netflix? And you'd be like, yeah, sure. And you swipe and you pay for your Netflix if Netflix accepted crypto. And so I could totally see an improvement of the chain functionality in the future, where the chain itself, for example, could send you a FIO request and say, hey, your domain is up for renewal in a couple of weeks. You want to renew it. That would be really cool. At the moment, those are fully encrypted messages, so that wouldn't be possible because obviously the chain itself would have to have a private key that you could do that with. But it's something we could certainly consider developing because I think it would be a great feature.
Thank you so much for all the knowledge, Luke.
You guys are welcome. And I want to add like a little more of my sacrifice. Look at this amazing meal. That's actually, some of it's green, so you can't even see it. It's actually the broccoli. But my wife just came in and as I was presenting, just dropped off dinner, and I've been salivating staring at it. So it's almost 8:30 here in Puerto Rico. Really appreciate all of you. Thank you again for coming out. And I'm gonna call it there and eat my food. I think we're an hour in anyway. So
yeah, perfect, Luke. Thank you. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you so much, Luke. And we appreciate you coming out the rainforest to spend the evening with us. So thank you.
Absolutely. We were tempted to stay, but I was like, no, we got to get back by 7. We definitely got to get back by 7. And I'm sorry, Marseille, I know I didn't get to send you crypto. Hook up with Rob. He's got my contact info. When you get that account set up, let me know and I'll send you some crypto. Really appreciate you all for coming out. Have a great one.
Thanks, you.
Luke. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. We're excited that you were here with us. So thank you. And we'll see you next month for Telos on the March 30th. We'll see you next time. Thank you.